This is a hard conversation, but what is it preventing? Right?
It's preventing trauma, years potentially of healing, relationships that are hard to hold, real intimacy, real connection, true love.
So can you intercept now a predator before there's any trouble?
That's what we're focused on. Our focus is to prevent it from happening. We're existing as many different things. So one we could exist as a parent, unfortunately, selling the child, which we do a lot of.
Yeah.
And then so they're communicating with the parent, thinking that they're going to have access to the child.
Yeah.
We exist as children, just children out there. Or we can exist as a buyer trying to purchase a child. That's a different section of what we do. But just being a child and existing and interfering. And so instead of them going in that direction, they actually catch us. You know, if you look at it like fishing, we're a lure that they bite onto and then we bring them in. And then part of the training is how do you build the strongest case? Everything's digital these days, right? All the communication and everything. So there's lots of technologies and forums. Everything's done over messaging systems and that. And how do you identify someone who's trying to hide their ID and their IP online and messaging systems and right. And so they're not going to a playground with their license plate on the cameras and their face recognition. They're hiding their identities. So understanding how do we get law enforcement trained and equipped to have the software that they can communicate on and where do they go and have these things and building a strong case because you can't entrap them. You can't lead these conversations. There's a lot of things you can't do. And so law enforcement has to build a strong case. If you build a strong case, then your conviction rates go up, sentencing increases. So there's a lot of things that you need to do, not just be an investigator, but in a specific area. In my experience, people always say like, how did this come about? And there's lots of different things I could say of how this come about. But when you look at all the pieces, one significant piece, this is all over the world here in the United States too. There's such a lack of aftercare. Aftercare.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. And we could go into a country and I remember somebody saying like, well, we could make arrests all the time, but where do we take them? These children.
Yeah.
And it's extremely expensive. You need 24-hour care. Right. So why not get ahead of that? We have to prevent this from happening.
Yes.
Right. And so that's where our focus is. And there's a lot of organizations wanting to share stats, and that's awesome. But we know that we'll never have stats because we're preventing it from happening. The only stat we care about is how many departments and officers did we train. They're so on a cruise control of I interrogate criminals, questioning. When you question a young girl, they feel like they're being questioned because they are. Like that it's not true. That you don't believe me. That's what they tell themselves, right? There has to be a completely different approach. That's part of this whole thing. They're not criminals. Prostitution is different than being it's actually prostitution. Let's just talk about for a second, has been happening for thousands of years. It's called the oldest profession. Sometimes people know about this, and it's been going on a long time. It was actually, I think in Greece, from 700 to 300 BC, it was actually regulated by the government, and they took taxes from these people. They were identified by their clothes. Of course they did. Right. And it was just a known thing. That's part of human trafficking. People think that human trafficking is a new word to like get likes and follows and clicks and all that stuff. It's just a different definition. And trafficker is just a different definition. When you talk about pimp and prostitution, 80% of females in prostitution are forced into it.
Or they grew up in it or something. Yeah.
There's a certain way. And I have a specific, multiple times actually, a high leader in law enforcement says, we've tried to help this 16-year-old, but she just doesn't want help. But you can't start there. You have to go back in time. Understand, how did she get here? 16-year-olds don't end up here arrested twice. Now they have a criminal record. It's going to hurt them in the future when you actually want to give them the best future, right? And so where do you stop your cruise control of what you normally do because it's illegal and start identifying, how did you get here? What happened? those are the questions. Actually, we tell them the first question you should ever ask is, what's your favorite meal? And then you go buy them that meal. That people are always wanting something from them. And as a law enforcement officer, if you're continually wanting something, you're no different.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. A lot of these, I say girls because about 83% of these victims are girls. Now, there are boys. Sometimes we see not always, a high probability is a homosexual male wanting to abuse a boy. Not always. There are women who do abuse as well. There are also women traffickers because the men are abusing them, so they don't trust men. So the women would actually, they would be more of the trafficker or the pimp in certain aspects. But they've been trained that law enforcement, not only can you not trust, you're going to go to jail, you're going to get in trouble, all these horrible things. But a gal that works for us that I can't wait for you to meet, her story, as heartbreaking as it is, it has such a beautiful ending, and she's such an inspiration. But they actually brought in, she doesn't know to this day if it was a real police officer or a fake police officer, but they questioned all these girls, and then the one who told the truth they never saw again. So they're putting it into their brain, do not tell the truth to law enforcement, right? And then they actually go to law enforcement finally, and they have a terrible interaction the first and second time. I mean, there's got to be some things that change. So long story short is there's a long ways to go. Community members can help bring this training in, and we have to, and law enforcement has to be open to seeing this differently. They're not criminals. They're victims here, and treat them like that. I was a victim one time, and I felt, and mine wasn't even close to this, and I felt like they didn't care at all about me. We can't do that. They're humans and they're children, right? And I don't care if they're 19 and they can legally go to war and buy a drink. And that just because my date clock changed, I go from a child to an adult. A 50-year-old man meeting up with an 18-year-old or 19-year-old is wrong. It's absolutely wrong, and it shouldn't be accepted. So we're going to target those guys too. There's just too much going on right now. We would never go into a grocery store and find a 51-year-old in an aisle and then say, hey, I want to borrow you, hold their hand and walk them to the ice cream aisle and introduce them to an 11-year-old girl and say, I think you guys should meet and talk. But social media apps are doing this right now. We see this as children on social media posing as children. They're sending friend requests to you of these men. And then as soon as you hit accept as that friend, Lord knows what's going to come into your messaging, but then they're going to send you like iconically the same profile following 2,200 people with 0 followers, suggesting them to be your friends too. And then if you accept those 5, there's 100 more.
Oh, wow.
Well, so where's that accountability coming from these platforms? And I think that that's one of the important things with parents is understanding that these are the risks that your child's facing when they have an open account. And the disappearing messages, on every platform now, it's the new trend is to have disappearing messages. Snapchat became popular because you could send a snap and then it would disappear.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's messaging. Just all my texts that my parents can't see, all the photos disappear. They can set the time on them for when they disappear. So there's a lot of things now that technology is enabling a lot of certain behaviors that are occurring and that parents need to be aware of, because that's how they're accessing children. Children are being accessed on the playground.
Yeah.
They're not. There's too many cameras to identify them. It's just this hard thing. And that's where it goes back to the relationship. If you can have that relationship with your kid and they can come to you about these conversations about what's going on, and you can be a safe place for them. Don't take their phone from them, right? That now you can understand that it's actually happening, because being oblivious to it doesn't help the situation.
No.
You have to understand it, and you have to be there for them in this moment. And in this particular situation, you have to be a safe place for them to come.